I doing the
Yeah.
God,
Wrong button.
wrong button.
Sorry, Craig, we don't have a table for you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and begin, everybody. The City of Plymouth City Council regular meeting for tonight, Thursday, February 22nd, 2024, is now called to order. In-person participation by the public is permitted. Members of the public not attending in person may submit written comments prior to the meeting by emailing your comment to the Deputy City Clerk at vmchenry@cityofplymouth.org before 3:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Emailed public comments will be distributed to the City Council and made part of the official record. This meeting is being recorded. Council chambers are wheelchair accessible. Special accommodations may be requested by contacting the Deputy City Clerk 72 hours before the meeting. At this time, please silence all cell phones or similar devices. Could we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Amoruso?
Here.
Councilmember Sim? Absent. Councilmember White?
Here.
Vice Mayor McLaughlin? Absent. Mayor Ackerland?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the City Council regular meeting agenda for tonight, February 22nd, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. I'll second.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to,
Why don't you just discuss?
okay. I am suggesting that we consider tabling the budget item for tonight, being, I think it's an important topic and two of our council members are absent.
I have no problem with that. But if we made a motion to approve the agenda, can we table it when we get to there, or can we table it right now? Okay, then do I have to resend my motion?
You can just withdraw your motion.
Okay, I withdraw my motion. And now I make a motion to approve the agenda with pulling the item with the budget. I'll second.
Thank you, guys. It's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Amoruso?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mayor Ackerland?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Public comment. Item number 3, public comment. Under provisions of the Government Code, citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. Please submit a completed speaker submittal form to the Deputy City Clerk. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence. For public comments on agendized items, speakers will be called by the mayor at the point on the agenda when the item will be heard. The City Council is prohibited from materially discussing or acting on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or an urgent need to take immediate action arose after the posting of this agenda. I'll open this for public comment right now. For general public comment, we have a speaker. Ms. Simmons, would you like to come up?
Good evening, council members. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time tonight. My name is Erica Simmons, and I am the coordinator for the Amateur Child Care Planning Council. This council was first established over 25 years ago and is an appointed body of child care consumers, service providers, public agencies, community representatives, and other discretionary members appointed jointly by the Amador County Board of Supervisors and the Amador County School Board of Trustees. The members collaborate to assess and coordinate the delivery of quality early care and education services and programs in Amador County. The mission of the Child Care Council is to partner with the community and promote the early care and education of children, and to promoting accessible and high-quality child care in Amador County. Local child care planning councils are mandated by state law under California Education Code Section 8499.5 to assess child care needs in California counties no less than every 5 years. It is now time for us to update this needs assessment, and we have created 2 separate surveys for the community. One survey is for all families in Amador County with young children, and the other is for all child care providers in the county. And this includes licensed family child care providers, preschool centers, after-school programs, as well as family, friend, and neighbor child care providers. Both of these surveys are available online, and I have brought flyers for you all tonight as well. We have been working very hard to canvass the entire county this week to make sure that we get a good sampling from all over the county. The data collected from these surveys will be included in our needs assessment and will also drive our strategic plan, which we will be updating in May. Childcare is a crucial component of all local economies. And just as one example, if parents don't have childcare, they can't attend work or school. I plan to return to a meeting here in the summertime to present our updated needs assessment to you all, as well as our strategic plan. We very much appreciate your help in assisting us in reaching families and childcare providers all throughout the Plymouth area. And I will share these flyers with you now, if that's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
And when you return, if you let us know ahead of time, and then that way we can put you on the presentation part, and you can have a little more time if needed. Thank you. Oh, funny. Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Is there anybody else here in City Hall who would like to speak during public comment right now? General? You look so nice.
Good evening, Jamie LeBanco. I actually just wanted to acknowledge the fact that there appears to be a lot of landscaping work that's happening on the roundabout and in and around the area. And I don't know if this has been happening annually and they're just doing a really great job this year, but I thought it was worth noting because sometimes the roundabout has looked pretty shabby in the past and it really seems as if there's been an extra effort. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the staff for making sure that's happening.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in City Hall who would like to speak during public comment, general public comment? Okay. Did we receive any written public comment for general public comment? Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay, I will close public comment now. And number 4, presentations, proclamations, appointments. There are none. 5, consent calendar items. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless, before the City Council votes on the motion to adopt, members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. So on the consent calendar tonight, is it no correspondence? No, wait, let me look. No correspondence. And 5.2, approve the regular meeting minutes of February 8th, 2024. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar? I don't see anything. Nothing received. Okay.
No, okay, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Amoruso,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Mayor Ackerland.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Number 6, public hearings. There are none. Number 7, regular agenda items. Item 7.1, review and provide direction on a potential meet and confer with the Ione Band of Miwok Indians regarding the tribal initial study / mitigated negative declaration for the casino project. Could we please have a staff report?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is before you. This is a follow-up to last meeting where we advised the council that the city had received notice of the environmental document regarding the off-reservation environmental impacts for the proposed casino. As you recall, the city received notice of that on January 31, 2024. We brought this to the council at the February 8th meeting, and the idea was to provide an overview of what the timelines are for the city to review and potentially engage the tribe in a substantive discussion regarding that document. It's a fairly large document. The review is still ongoing, and the council did direct staff to look into it and provide a potential recommendation to request a meet and confer process with the tribe. That was at the February 8th meeting. The council and staff also arranged an opportunity for the public to be able to provide feedback. I think a dedicated web page was opened up, advertised, and a portal for people to submit email comments was also provided. And I think the council has received public comment by virtue of what's attached to the staff report. There are also some, I think, 4 letters received today, or in the last couple of days anyways, since the agenda was posted, that the council has, and they've been also at the back table for the public's review. And so what the city's looking for tonight, and there are some issues that are noted in the staff report, but ultimately what the city's looking for tonight is direction from this council to whether or not we should engage the tribe in a meet and confer effort pursuant to the compact. We have 30 days to make that request. And then after the tribe receives such request, there are 30 days to meet and confer. And if the city still objects to the tribe's adoption of that document, after the meet and confer, the city has to inform the state of the objections within 10 days after that. So the timeline is extremely accelerated. And as far as I know, the city received no notice of this in advance, no courtesy notice in advance of this, and the city wasn't involved prior to that as far as getting notice about the document. So it's obviously an accelerated timeline. If the state then objects to the tribe's adoption of the document, the state will inform the tribe in writing within 15 days after the meet and confer. And if the tribe disagrees with the state's objections, the tribe and the state will meet to resolve the issue within 30 days after the tribe receives the state's objections. One of our environmental consultants that's been looking at this is with us, and she will, Erica will speak in a second. But just some of the high-level issues that are preliminarily noticed. Obviously, there's issues regarding water resources and water supply. That relates to section 3.10 of the document. Land use concerns, section 3.11. Noise, section 3.13. Public services, which includes public safety, 3.15. And transportation and traffic-related impacts under 3.17. Overall, what I can say is it appears that most of the mitigation measures lack specifics as to implementation measures. The measures in general appear to just put things off to the future with no timing, implementation, or cooperation required. In addition to the lack of that, there's also the outstanding issue that it reflects a map which the city believes needs changing to correctly reflect the city's property versus the tribal area. But in short, again, staff is requesting direction from council to engage the tribe and request a meet and confer process. We also think that it may be helpful to designate or ask that the council's current tribal liaisons, Mike, Vice Mayor, and Councilmember White, to assist in that process. And any other direction the council is so inclined to give. And with that, I'll turn it over to Erica Frazier to further provide more specifics on her review.
So, in general, while the casino is on tribal trust land and not within the city, there are some impacts to the city as it's located adjacent to, and they need to access our roadways. So much of the concerns that we have relates to the city rather than the rest of the document, being that it's on federal trust land. There's some different issues that they would have in that regards. In general, some of the concerns are that the mitigation measures are vague. They do lack specifics, timeline for the improvement to be conducted, who's going to conduct the improvement when an improvement is called for, and no design is included. So that's a general comment that we have. Again, with the maps being correct or incorrect, they need to be correctly reflected in the document, and our comments changed based on where that accurate line is shown for their tribal boundary. With regards to water resources and land use, some of the concerns that we have in those sections do vary based on, again, that boundary of their trust land. If it is as shown within their document, we have some concerns that do go away if that line gets changed and Village Drive is within the city. In regards to noise, they do have a mitigation measure that limits construction hours. It's from 6 a.m. To 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. There is the potential that there's noise impacts from construction and grading activities, especially because the trucks will be coming through the city. And so that is one of our concerns that we've noted, that those hours should be shortened to not start at 6 a.m. Again, with regards to noise, they will have an amphitheater on their site, and there will be music. They have hours within their document, and then they also list the hours with which sound is not to be heard past the amphitheater. That's a very difficult enforcement tool if noise were to be heard within the city, and so we do have some concerns with that, and a potential way to correct that would be to follow our noise ordinance so that we could then contact them if there was a noise problem. Probably not, it is far away, but just to be sure, and then to have a contact that if there were noise complaints, someone we could work with if residents were to complain of noise. Again, with construction, there isn't an adequate discussion of construction noise. And so with trucks traveling to the site, loud trucks, big trucks, what is the noise involved? What is the path of travel that they're taking, especially if the hour of operation does start at 6? There's potential for noise impacts greater than just the surrounding area, and it's not really discussed in enough detail in the document. With regards to traffic, the traffic section, the MND discusses a traffic control plan, which would be the path of travel over city streets, the time with which trucks could start idling on site or arriving at site. They also call for potential temporary traffic measures, but that would all be within the city, and there's no mitigation measure for that, and there's no specifics on that. One thing that a city should look for in something like that is asking that they provide it to the city so that the city can review it and make sure that there are no impacts to the city. Again, it's an impact to the city because they will be traveling through the city to access the site. Again, without that, also without the traffic plan that they would have, we have no way of knowing which city streets they're going to use, and some city streets are just not designed to accommodate the weight of those trucks, and we wouldn't want to see damage to city streets or infrastructure underneath. There are 2 mitigation measures within the document that ask for, or that require some improvements, both to Highway 49 and then a driveway lineup, or the entrance lineup for the site. Again, it's unspecific on who's required to comply with these, or required to install these improvements. So that would be something that we would like to discuss with them to find out who should be doing it. There's no design, and there's lack of specifics on when the implementation would be required to mitigate the impact. With the secondary one, with moving their entrance, that's an unknown. I can't speak to that one because, again, with the way their map is that they're showing, it's a different impact than if Village Drive is within the city. So that's an unknown. But that is another concern, that it's, again, vague and has no specific implementation or design, who's responsible and when it needs to be done by. Those are some of the major ones that we've kind of identified at this point that would impact the city. But if you have any questions for me on any of those, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Yeah, on the Caltrans, would Caltrans be involved with any kind of realignment and or encroachment off of 49 6/16, right? I mean, that's their road. That's not a city road. That's a state road. It's a highway.
The improvement calls for the lead up to it, and so it requires some sort of cooperation amongst all, depending on who's responsible. Let's say all three parties. So all 3 parties, and it could require improvements to the city street. It's an unknown. I don't have a design, right. So I couldn't tell you who's specifically responsible to do the improvement, and it doesn't say who's specifically responsible. It leaves it as, yeah, it's very vague.
You want to go to public comment, and then if we have any more questions. Okay. Thank you, all of you.
Just had one thing.
Of course.
I think the intent of this was to provide just enough fodder for the council to decide whether or not it wanted to engage the tribe with the meet confer process. This is a very preliminary, it's a large document, and there's probably a ton of more issues that would need to be discussed, and that's why I know Margaret and the council have been concerned about getting public feedback on the document, which we've gotten good feedback thus far, so I just want to make that clear. This is not an exhaustive list at all.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and open this to public comment now. We've acknowledged the written public comment that we've received. There's a copy of an email that was received that's in the agenda packet. And then I think other documents that we have received will be made available as part of the record. And then there's also copies in the back. Okay, so there's copies in the back if anybody wants copies of the public comment we've received. Otherwise, I'm going to open this to those of you that are here, and may start with Mr. Cranford. You filled out a form. Would you like to come up and share your public comment?
Good evening. I appreciated the staff reports. They confirm many of my concerns as well. Even with the limited notice and the limited time available to review this document, it wasn't difficult to discern and conclude it is a seriously flawed document. Having reviewed similar documents prepared for and by the Ion Band in the past 20 years, it didn't surprise me to find this document filled with misleading information, outdated data, and unsupported claims and conclusions. The absence of specificity throughout the document is concerning, as alluded to by staff. there's not even any estimated times for the duration of mitigation measures or the time of completion for non-specific mitigation measures. And how it was, however, refreshing to see the city staff report submitted for February 22nd shares my concern about the lack of specifics in the MND. And I'm willing, if the city's willing to take comment and have citizens assist in this. We've been involved in this 20 years. We're well acquainted with the Ion Band and the things they try to do, the things they offer, the things they scheme about. So I previously raised the issue about the inaccurate map, and it's pleased to see that this is now a concern of the city council and staff. If you want to go into meet and confer with a group of people who knew, because I raised this issue in plenty of time for them to correct any maps that were in the ISMMD about the compact map, and yet we have multiple maps in this document that are flatly wrong, and they all include Village Drive as part of their alleged trust lands. That needs to be fixed before any meet and confer ever happens. Based on a significant reduction of the proposed casino size and its removal to the county, a reading of the compact indicates it's questionable the 2012 ROD approved preferred alternative A from the 2009 FES could be used for this document. There's nothing in the FEIS related to a reduced casino in the county. In fact, most of the data in that document is at least 15 years old, and the well data in some instances is 20 years old. I would not want to be meeting and conferring based on that kind of information. Finally, the city should know the project site is not a reservation. I went through the first 75 or so pages of this. They mentioned the word reservation, off reservation, or on reservation 135 times. It doesn't matter how many times they try to tell the public and this council that it's a reservation. It simply is not until they provide some documentation that it is. It's not a reservation. It is not a reservation. While this council is certainly at liberty to consider and possibly meet and confer with the Ion Band, I would strongly recommend the city never enter into any agreement or agreements with this group. As was the case in 2004, when the city entered into an illegal municipal services agreement, it was the Ion Band who wanted and needed the agreement. The city did not need an agreement in 2004, and the city does not need an agreement in 2024. One last comment. I don't know if there's any city staff or a single city member who is aware of the tribe's 2011 long-range transportation plan, but you should take a look at it. Oh, it calls for 4 miles of roads, a 220-foot bridge, and 162 homes to be built on the very site that is now being used for the reduced casino in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Colburn, you've also filled out a form here. Would you like to come up?
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm going to be here more to answer questions than to bring anything new, because I did give you a letter.
And I'm sorry, before you get started, I just want to acknowledge that we have received your written comment, and all the written comments are being reviewed. But certainly if you have anything additional you'd like to add, now's the time.
I did pass out a note here, but one of the things I wanted to speak to was I can appreciate that they want to meet and confer and act in good faith, and I gave you a paper there that has a date on it from 2004 when they first started saying, yeah, we want to meet and confer, and we are going to do that, and it's not happening. It hasn't happened. I have a letter from Governor Schwarzenegger in regards to that very matter, where he said that we would be involved, the city would be involved with the hearings on the compact, and they were not. A letter from Peter Apple Smith, who was Jerry Brown's legal secretary and the head of the Indian Affairs, that we would be definitely sitting at the table with the compact negotiations. We knew nothing of the compact negotiations until they were done. And even to that point, we should have at least had a hearing at the legislature. You can't pass a bill without a hearing. Well, this particular bill was a ghost bill. It was a bill that was put in for another item, painting one of the Assemblyman's offices or something of that nature. They had hearings on that. They then added this compact to that bill and dropped the original stuff, and then argued that they had hearings on the bill. They had hearings on the bill, but not on this casino. And so we are here today. The hearing today is not really a hearing by them in regards to the negative deck. This is a requirement by the compact that they offer to meet and confer with both the city and the county and have a 30-day period to do that. It didn't really offer anything to address any items in the but the city in itself did offer that and is taking these information, hopefully going to pass it on. So they really, we're sure, that they would like us to think they're going to be faithful and meeting and conferring, but they have not up to this point. And I don't think that we can expect a fair hearing from them in the future. The other things I was very interested in, of course, is the water use and the sewer that's going to be with this project. The notes that Butch said about the 162 homes, there's also in that long-range plan, there's 430 condominiums and low-income housing for a total of some 700 EDUs. That's equivalent dwelling units for the water. Currently, the city has about 600. So it's going to be double what our capacity is here if they build out what is proposed in their past papers of the 2011 transportation studies. So I believe, and from some of the chairman's office of the tribe, the word has come back that this is not merely a reduced size casino. This is reduced size because of the financial problems in order to get it started and to start the process. And that as money comes in and the abilities, they will increase the size of this. So we believe that we shouldn't be just addressing the 349 units. We need to be looking at the total, a picture of what they are proposing here, or get some kind of declaration that that's not going to happen. And the other thing is, again, the tribe is not a reservation, and I came up with the same thing that Butch did. They've tried this in other reservations in the state to try to establish that they were a reservation when they were not, by simply stating that they were. And so I believe we need some study of the total project. The items, the roadway encroachment off the city street, that would have to start CEQA, triggered CEQA. The information that we currently have on the motel is that there's going to be taken down in order to put a street in, and that triggers CEQA, the big financial impact we're going to have on that. So the city is on the block for some street issues here. But then they're also up against a block of obeying the judgment that was put forth in the lawsuits back in 2004 and 5. So with that, any questions that I can answer for you? I did give you some numbers on water, if I can clarify those if you want, but basically it was EDUs equivalents. And that project is larger than what the city of Plymouth is right now. And the EDUs will be greater in water and sewer. There's more land, that we have more land right now in our sewer and water treatment, in our sewer plants than they have in their available in land in their trust. So,
Mr. Colburn, with all due respect, I'm going to ask if you can,
yeah, thank you. Any questions for me?
not at this time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Is there anybody else here in City Hall who'd like to make comment? And I want to acknowledge that we have speakers that went over 3 minutes, which is fine. I think under the circumstances, so I'm going to extend that to anybody who wants to speak tonight and ask you to keep it
I'll try.
within 3 minutes, but please no longer than 5 minutes if you don't mind. Thank you.
It's a very large document.
Yes.
Jamie Labenko. My husband Ron and I own the property at the end of Empire behind Pokerville Market, a stone's throw from this tribal land, and our family owns several other pieces that go out along Bush Street that are close to this project. So for various reasons, it's of concern to us. I think most of those concerns have probably been presented to you in letters. So I didn't really do a in-depth comments on some of them. But I think my most important questions is whether or not the city, the county, or the state have any authority to actually enforce agreements and or contracts that are entered into between the tribe and local governments. It seems as if the contracts that were entered into with Buena Vista, after they got the casino built, then they no longer honored those contracts. And I don't know if there are some types of things that we can put into our contracts that would make those not fall victim to such a fate. If this project is built at the reduced project size, and at a future date the tribe decides to build out the project to one of the original versions / sizes in these documents, which are significantly larger, would there be new hearings? Would there be another meet and confer? New agreements developed to mitigate the increased impacts? Again, who has the authority to call for those changes in hearings? On the environmental issues, I think water is an important issue. The technical memorandum in Appendix D provided by Bennett Engineering Services updates the requirements for water and wastewater treatment and storage based on the reduced size of the project. That report was written in 2023, but it's still using the well data from 2004. It's 20-year-old well data. It's using the loading assumptions for wastewater from 2005. Per the California Department of Resources, we have experienced 8 years of historic drought since that study was done. I'm honestly surprised that they're even allowed to use studies that are 20 years old, especially well data. What impact will the 24-hour pumping of 3 wells outlined in their project have on the groundwater and nearby agriculture operations? Speaking of agriculture, the report does include review of agriculture and forest resources, but only asks the question, does the project convert ag or forest lands to non-ag or forest land use? With the exception of perhaps converting some grazing land, it does not. What the report does not ask is if this project has a negative impact on existing ag lands. Again, someone should ask what the impact of the 24-hour pumping of these 3 wells, what that impact would have on nearby agriculture lands. Housing. Honestly, the most insulting thing in this entire document to me was the statements on housing. To suggest that there are 62 vacant homes in Plymouth is laughable, you guys. if there are 62 vacant homes in this community, they are certainly not available for rent. It took my daughter 2 years to find a home to rent. My son, who's now home from college, has been living with us for over a year. I assure you, if there were 62 vacant houses in Plymouth, he would not still be living with his mom by his own choice, not even mine. So it's crazy to me to suggest that we have 62 vacant homes. Parks and schools. Impacts on parks and schools are considered less than significant in this document because the number of workers who will in-migrate are small in the context of existing population. Again, this report confuses me. It confuses me because on one hand, it suggests the positive impact of the creation of over 200 plus jobs in our community and acknowledges the need for housing and suggests that these 62 vacant homes will satisfy that need. But on the other hand, it states that there is less than significant impact on schools and parks because the number of workers who are going to be working there will in-migrate, their words in this document, and are small in context to our population. I have questions about crime and fire. I think those will probably be directed to the county, but I do have some concerns about our community and the health of our community. What type of mitigation will there be for the impacts on our community members relative to addiction? Gambling operations have enormous impacts on their community members when it comes to gambling addiction. I think there are requirements by the state to mitigate some of those things, but I don't see any of that in this report. Like your staff members, I found the size and scope of this document daunting, and I have additional concerns regarding the destruction of the Shenandoah Inn, the fiscal impacts of that decision on the city of Plymouth. And finally, I kind of ebb and flow between wondering if and why they would even work with us. And I would hope that the tribe would actually recognize that the health of this community is important to their viability. There have been so many casino projects built since this project was brought to the city of Plymouth in 2002, I think. It appears to me that this community and the charm of this community and the health of this community is going to be necessary for that casino to attract people into the community. And so I would hope that when and if we're meeting and conferring, the tribe would work in good faith, recognizing that it's not just in our best interest, it's in theirs. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in City Hall who'd like to come up for public comment now?
Hello, Craig Baracco, Foothill Conservancy. For those of you who don't know me in my, I guess it's about 5 months in now, so it's not quite new role. But just to, mainly here to hear feedback from City Council staff and members of the public. Our own land use team is reviewing the document and we're preparing a set of comments of our own. Some of them echo the concerns that we've already heard here tonight, primarily the vagueness of a lot of the provisions of the document, some lack of information, and a need for clarity. I would just, on the issue at hand, in terms of engaging in meetings and negotiations with the tribe, I would say I would urge the City Council to engage in the process as it is available. There's little to be gained by not doing so, and potentially many of these issues can be addressed in this process. Just the identification of and free flow of information between the city and the IOM band could, check off a lot of these items. It could solve, if not all, but a lot of issues simply by addressing them, talking it out, seeing what's possible. As the project is quite a bit smaller than was originally conceived in previous documents. It is relatively small compared to the other casinos in the county. It's smaller than Buena Vista, and everyone remarks on how small the Buena Vista Casino is. How Caesar's Northern California, I guess now. And I would just urge an effort to be cooperative. All jurisdictions have to work with other jurisdictions, as we've seen with the school district and consolidation. Various governments don't always work well together, and I think the public is poorer for it. So I would just, in terms of what's at hand tonight, urge you to engage in fully in the process as possible in the hopes of addressing these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here at City Hall who would like to come up for public comment?
Hello, my name's Michael Labenko. I just wanted to say a couple of quick things. I've recently spent the last 4 years at Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, in the construction management program. And we have wrote up many environmental impact reports and many reports just like this, including impacts to the land and traffic all the way across the board. Many of my professors have been doing this their entire lives. Very, very, very well badged and honored in the industry. And if I presented my teachers with a report like the one that they presented to you, they'd probably laugh in my face and throw the document out. Not nearly enough information, outdated information. These things on current projects that I'm working on all require very up-to-date, very within the last few year information to provide the most amount of information to the taxpayers and the people that you guys are representing to be able to make the best decision. I just wanted to comment on that. And then secondly, I know there's not many 21-year-old kids that'll come up and speak on this topic, but I'm very in tune with the youth in this city, in this county. And I just ask, I'm 5th generation here, maybe 6th generation in the community, and my great-great-great-grandparents and my great-grandparents and my grandparents and my parents have all fought to leave a very nice, very beautiful county that everybody loves, everybody adores, and people come from all over to see the beauty of Amador County, right? And I just ask that you guys would consider what you're leaving to your children and your grandchildren when you're making these decisions. The beautiful hills when you're coming into Plymouth that'll now have a wastewater treatment plant right as you come into town is unfortunate for my grandchildren, my children in the future. It's something to think about, and I just ask that you would keep the youth in mind when you work on these subjects. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here at City Hall who would like to make comment at this time? Anybody? No? Okay. And we've received all the written public comment. Going once, going twice? No more public comment on this item? Okay. So we'll close this to public comment right now. Thank you, everybody. Okay, open this for council discussion. Councilmember Amoruso.
I appreciate everyone getting up and talking tonight. Lots of good information and a lot of good community outpour. It's what we need to hear, right, at the end of the day. It's just one of those things that this has been a long-term issue within our community. And, at this point, I think that moving forward with what we're doing and, I think burying our head in the sand is not going to fix the problem. And I don't want to see opportunities pass us by. So I think at this point, I feel that we need to talk about those impacts and what that looks like for us. Because everyone had really great, things. I think the staff report was amazing. I think our planner did a great job picking it apart. I had all the same concerns she had. And I think that there's more to come here. So that's what
Councilmember White.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming tonight and expressing your concerns. I really don't think that this is a for the casino or against the casino. I think anyone that lives here in town would definitely be like, I don't want to wake up and see lights blaring and everything into my bedroom window. I think that's I mean, about as sharp as you can say. You'd almost be foolish. I can also say I do have family members that do have some gambling addictions, and I'll put that on record right here and now. I have heard everything under the sun in the last 7 years that I've been on council, that I had my campaigns paid for by the casino, and I have been in the casino's hind pocket, and that just is not the truth. I can definitely say that. But we are at a point where I'll have to agree with the council member Amoruso. Burying our heads in the sand is not going to fix this problem right now. There is a lot of questions, as we all have had tonight and we've all expressed, that we need to get answers to. And I think the only way that we can get answers to is sitting down at the table. And that's pretty much what I have to say. I wish our other two council members were here tonight too.
Thank you. And again, thank you everybody who came tonight. And I also want to thank the people who submitted written public comment. We had a few lengthy emails received later this afternoon, which I haven't had time to really thoroughly read. I've glanced through them, and I want to acknowledge especially Stephanie Moreno's email. It looks like she's done a deep dive into this, and I appreciate the thorough analysis and specific recommendations. The fact that that all of you who have commented on this, so I want to acknowledge everybody, and to also say that the opportunity to continue to provide input is ongoing. I want to thank city staff for setting up the page on the city's website. If you could help spread the word to your friends and neighbors that does exist, where people can stay up to date on what's going on, and then also a dedicated email address, I don't know off the top of my head, to submit comments. For me personally, I want to stay focused on the fact tonight that what we're being asked to do is really give staff direction on engaging in this meet and confer. I also want to thank Erica. I'm happy to see you here tonight and for your analysis. And so I think it's clear that the city has identified concerns, is continuing to review this document that we all agree is rather large. And that, again, I think what we're being asked for tonight is to give staff direction on continuing to move forward with the research and the analysis and arrange for the meet and confer, which I'm supportive of both of that. So I don't know if this is something that requires a motion or just consensus.
That sounds like you had consensus.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to say, in respect to a couple of the questions that were raised, I think just it's helpful for us to know, related to contract enforcement. So if the city were to enter into intergovernmental agreement as one of the outcomes of the meet and confer efforts, and there was some kind of agreement or consensus on things that we felt like would mitigate, obviously the city would have to go through its own environmental analysis before, because that would be a discretionary approval of the city. But enforcement would be a civil contract, and so the city would have enforcement rights like it would as a party to any other contract. And we, at that point, tribal immunity can't prevent the city from enforcing a contract in which the tribe voluntarily entered into. So I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it would, easy to enforce, but it would be enforceable as any other civil contract. So I want to address that. And then as far as this environmental review process that we're undertaking now for this proposed project in its current iteration, if there was any expansion, renovation, or modification, the compact does require them to go through a subsequent environmental off-reservation environmental impact. So this process that we're engaging now is based upon what they're currently contemplating, but if the project were to be expanded or changed in the future, they would have to go through this process again. So it's not, at least per the terms of the compact, they aren't allowed to use this as an opportunity to bypass future review. So I just wanted to address those two things.
Thank you.
I think also acknowledgement, we're looking for acknowledgement or direction from the council that to have, particularly have the tribal liaisons participate in that meeting for effort.
And then also just one more point of clarification for my benefit. I know you touched on this earlier, but if we chose not to do the meet and confer, what the ramifications of that could be?
Well, the meet confer is not, and I need to be clear, it's not a tacit admission that the compact, that anything that is asserted by the compact or the document itself is valid or true. But any trigger opportunity we have to engage with them and to the betterment of the city, I think we should take that up. The reality is that meet and confer process is a necessary precondition to lodge further objections with the state and potentially escalate a kind of appeal process. So if we don't engage because we take the position that we don't have to, we're going to be in a position where we're fighting uphill because the argument the state's going to have is you waived your rights. So I think we need to exhaust all options to bring them to the table and to negotiate as good of a deal as we can for the city and preserve whatever objections we have later on in the process. And I outlined that timeline earlier, but I think that would be the best interest of the city to not engage.
To not waive that right. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you for Mike for standing up and talking for the youth, because I think that's important, and I don't want that to be, just let it slide. I think it's really important that, I think we all are here for, to lead this community, better for youth and for the future. So I want to thank you for getting up and being a voice of the youth of the community, and, congratulations on your degree. And, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess it sounds like by consensus, we are agreeing that we'd like the city staff to move forward with ongoing analysis and research, engage the tribe in the meet and confer process, and involve Councilmember White and Vice Mayor McLaughlin in that process, which to me would make sense because you're already on that. Yeah, okay. So do you have the direction you're looking for? Okay, all right, thank you. And I believe that there are a number of you that are here for 7.1. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, and you're welcome to stay. However, I'm going to give this opportunity for you to gracefully leave if you don't want to stay and hear about the swimming pool.
Hey, the swimming pool is an amazing agenda item.
Thank you guys for coming.
Michael.
We're clearing the room over the swimming pool.
Right?
Come on.
That's one of my favorite things to talk about every year. It is. That's necessary.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item 7.2. Discuss and provide direction on summer 2024 pool operations. Do we have a staff report on this?
This item is before the council because we now have a city employee who, well, first of all, you know, we lost our certified pool operator recently. And so we have a new certified pool operator who passed his pool certification with a score of 98 on his very first try, which is unheard of. Nice shout out. He is willing to take over the day-to-day operations of the pool, sort of as a pool manager. And we could, by checking the chemicals and the cleanliness of the pool and doing the maintenance, yes, the maintenance type items and checking in on the lifeguards during his regular day and being available if something happens after he goes home for the day. And we could hire a head lifeguard and lifeguards to run the pool during pool operations. This would obviously eliminate the need for ACRA to run our pool program. This would give us the option to operate the pool on whatever days we chose instead of at the will of what days ACRA decided they wanted to give us the pool. We could set our prices for what we charge our community to enter the pool. We could have activities in the evening such as family night or movie night at the pool. We could, depending on how many lifeguards we could find and hire, we could have 7-day operation. Of course, that would increase the pool cost somewhat. We don't anticipate that by taking over the pool operations, it would increase the overall cost because we paid for the lifeguards and the head lifeguards and the pool manager through our contract with ACRA. We believe we can give our residents a better service by using city staff because we can hold our city staff accountable where we had no control over holding ACRA employees accountable. I think it's a good idea. So I'm bringing it forward to council. Yes, it's early, but in order to get good lifeguards, we have to catch it early. Which is now. So I'm bringing it to you now, hoping for approval so that we can reach out starting tomorrow to gain access to the more qualified go-get-em lifeguards to bring on staff with Plymouth. And so what I'm hoping for is approval for the program. And what I would do is put the program together while we reach out to lifeguards and see what we can get and then bring you back the whole program in totality with the program laid out with the lifeguard job descriptions and all of that at a later date.
Sounds great, thank you. But I have to open this to public comment. Is there anybody here in City Hall who would like to comment on this item? Okay, thank you. I'm going to close this to public comment. Staff discussion? City council discussion? Councilmember Amoroso?
I think it's great. I think we should have done this a long time ago, actually. I think the cost will actually probably come down, I would imagine, on some level. I mean, just because of, chemicals don't change. They like it. I think it's a good thing. I think it's something that we manage it, we'll, like I said, have more flexibility over what we can and can't do, and hours of operations, and, you know, just all the different parts and pieces. So I think it's positive for our community.
Councilmember White?
I've always kind of been, I don't know, boisterous on the whole thing over all the years and everything, just because I believe that pool raises so many of the kids in our community, in a roundabout way. During the summer months, I know I grew up in that pool. I know former Mayor Burns talked about himself growing up in that pool, so I've always felt just a special, I don't know, part of my heart for that pool. I wish that there was a way of, you know, between the hours of 2 and 4 or whatever, a free swim for our community. And I don't know if this might be able, because if Accra was doing it, there was no way, because they had to pay staff. And I understand we have to pay staff, but this might open up that window to where we could do something like that for our community and maybe get more use, and maybe that would even create a ball of wax to create more people to go and use our pool. So that's just, but I do support this.
And I'm glad to hear about those fond memories you have of growing up at the pool, because that tells me you'll be the first one to volunteer for the dunk tank on family night.
Oh, you bet, you bet. I didn't say I could swim, no.
Well, that's why they have lifeguards.
Oh, okay.
Margaret and I talked about this earlier in the week because I had some questions that she was able to answer. And as far as free swim, I think it would be nice too. And I think that amongst the community, we can maybe think of some fundraising ideas to sponsor families and maybe kind of start, depending upon how much is raised, help families to encourage our families in Plymouth to be able to use the pool. Obviously, we want to support fresh air and exercise and activity, and see more kids at the pool and less time on their tablets. So maybe that would be a rule, that no tablets or anything like that. Or, but anyway, yeah, I support this. I also think that, and this is off the topic a little bit, but if we can consider having some security cameras out there.
They've already been thought about.
Okay. And then I've thought for a while that all of our public locations that we might want to think about a code of conduct. Anyway, otherwise I support this. And if this is something you're wanting and willing to take on with you and the rest of the staff, I also want to mention that the executive director for Accra has just announced that he's moving on from Accra, and he gave notice, and I think he's with Accra, I think it's until April 1st, so there's going to be a little bit of a transition. So I think the timing of this is really good. So you have my support. Do we need to make a motion, or we're just going to give you direction to move ahead with whatever you need to do to implement this?
Great, thank you.
Okay. So moving on to 8, council staff communications. 8.1, city managers report.
So the next meeting is March 14th, and I will be on vacation. The bid openings for the fire station project is next Thursday, but the award of the bid opening will be coming to the council on the March 14th council meeting. So that's very exciting. Weber Gio will be present to make that presentation to the council. The Amador Fair has set the theme for the fair this year, and the theme is Going for the Gold. And they've sent out entry forms for the window space, which means that we will be reaching out to the ambassadors to hopefully get some volunteers so we can do as well as we did last year. And the city is planning its next event in the park for April 13th. We're still in the early planning stages, but there will be more in the March city newsletter. The aim is to get entire families to come out by including family activities. So there's just a little draw there to get you thinking.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Amoroso, any,
I've got nothing.
okay. Councilmember White?
I really don't have nothing, just, I don't know, huh? No, actually, it's, we're just talking about things in the community. It's, National FFA Week. That's, a huge thing for our community, so, if you know a little FFA, high school student or whatever, support. And just on note of that, my mother was the first woman in FFA for Amador County, and we're pretty sure for the state of California.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't know, just it's been a big part of our family for years. And I should say Future Farmers of America, that's what FFA stands for, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Council Amoroso, any requests for future agenda items? No. Councilmember White?
I'm good at the moment.
Okay, and I'm going to start to sound like a broken record. Just want to nudge. So go ahead.
I'm working on bringing the clerk and the treasurer to the council.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm also hoping we can revisit and have a follow-up agenda item about when we had the discussion about 49er Village and the concerns that were brought up a couple of months ago and possible solutions, options we might have for that, which what comes to my mind is if we need to address in our municipal code stays versus permanent residences. Other than that, I don't have anything else. And anything else? Okay. So it's 7:46 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned.